See, anyone, you will not stop not listening to me. Your microphone is still on. I mean, what does it take to just make it mute? I don't understand this simple thing. If you cannot follow, how you will learn and implement in your life? Anyway, let me start from where we have left. See, just now I told you, and immediately I start doing something, you start speaking. This is going out of my patience, actually. If you do not want to attend the class, please do not attend the class, but then don't disturb the class. Okay, so yesterday we have left at a position where we could see something has been created on the for the request. What we were doing, we had created one controller by this name. I'm opening that controller. Okay. Now that is the controller which is going to basically call all those. First of all, what we have seen is one particular action, get mapping, get alliance, and we are using the DAO layer, calling the business function of that DAO layer and getting the data. Here we have to see the DAO layer. Let's open the DAO layer. This is the DAO layer. DAO is the data access object. That means it's a layer through which one will communicate. That is, your the Spring ORM will communicate with Hibernate and directly not go to the database, but through a layer, because this layer will present all the business functions. One of the functions that we have done yesterday was get alliance. One function, this is a function. This function returns a list of an entity called align with DAO. So we will open this align with DAO. This is just an entity class. We have given the class name as align with DAO, but the actually table is mapped. Or let me open the. I hope everyone is having this particular Mysql Workbench.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, very good. So let us first work with, we are going to use this JSP, which is the database. Yes, it is correct. Then we are using one table that we have created. These are the data within the table align. And we are now using our DAO layer and this entity class to map to this particular table called align that we have done through entity mapping. And this is just the ID. Also, this ORM will require this ID to indicate that any table that you access, the master table has to have a primary key. That ID will annotify or annotate the first the field, just immediately accompanying field. Then the rest is setter and getter method, and one is the override to string. So this DAO is my main layer, which has this function. What it is doing, it is getting the session factory, getting the current session from the session factory. Session factory is one of the objects or the beans that we have defined. Let us open that one. Where is it?
In the font controller.
Yeah. Let me open the POM file as well as, because this is a Maven project. And where are your this thing? This is within the web INF, not under web app. Web app will have all the views. I've created the views. Now let us open the web XML. Web XML, you know that all these things have declared, defined, and this one controller servlet XML will define the session factory. This is the configuration part. Taking this session factory, it is actually creating a query through the session factory object and just giving an HQL Hibernate query language. Just you are mentioning align from align. Now this is nothing but this query, select star from align, but you do not mention it as small letter, because in entity, this is the entity. In entity, you have said the entity mapping is through the name. So the table and the entity has to be the same name, but entity will always be of the capital letter. If you mention it as small, fine, then you have to also change it over here. You have to make it small. Okay. I will prefer to go with the capital. Generally, I will always try to give the class name and the entity name the same. But here, to make the things very clear to you, what I have done is I have made align with DAO and the class name. That is fine. Then you have to mention this name equal to align. Anyway, with this background, I have created one function only just to get all the aligns. To do that, there is a controller. The controller is the main thing. So this one, the first controller, it will understand from this URL pattern and through this dispatcher servlet, it will go and look for some controller in this controller tab, or because you have given that you want to scan everything under com.pcs global, and it will scan everything, even this one now, even this one model, everything it will scan, but only it will find that particular thing in this home controller.java. That was my first program. That is fine. So it for fun. But for our this example, we are using this mapping, and that is going to qualify this home, and this is managing the align table. Some message on the console, but basically we are asking with this that we are trying to load this page, not the index, not the home controller. Home controller is asking for index with this mapping, but I'm not interested with home controller. I'm directly going over here, so I can remove this. So once that is done, index align, let us open that index align.jsp, and I find that it's a JSP file. I'm trying to display all the align records. Okay. And I've changed the message a bit. I'm saying click on the submit button to fetch all the align records, and I will click on submit. So let us first run this. Anirban, we are just repeating the yesterday's work, just for your reference, that you may understand what we have done. Then we will proceed. So let us first execute the program as it is, as we have done yesterday.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry, anyone, you please do not mind my, I mean, just it's too much of a, from the morning.
Sir, actually, I was not sitting in my chair. I was talking with my mother, sir. Actually.
So what you do is always before,
yes,
once
yes,
you join, immediately check whether your microphone is on or not.
Yes, sir.
You immediately make it off. And then you can leave your chair, you go and have your, whatever you do, come back. And if you need to ask a question, then only you will ask.
Okay, sir.
That is the way that has to be done. Anyway, So by default, it has gone to this particular application and it has calling a particular page. By default, it is index because it is this one. Anyway, we are not interested with this. We are interested with index DAO because this thing is, I'm interested in calling this one because this is the first screen that I want to load, index align JSP. Therefore, I'm calling this index DAO. This is the request mapping. I press enter. Okay. For displaying all align records. So index align, it is the H1, it is the HTML. It is just displaying with a particular format. For displaying all align records, please click on the submit button to fetch all the align records. So what I do, I will say submit. Once I do submit, I will get into action for get alliance. So get alliance, it will come back. Where? Over here. And it has a mapping. It is saying with this will know, this annotation knows that I have to call this function of the controller because I'm processing this get alliance submit. On submit, there is some submit action. So on submit, I'm trying to execute this function. And this function says that I am adding an attribute after I have got an access to the DAO. I'm going to the DAO. How I'm going to the DAO? Because I have injected the DAO as a DAO object. What is that injection? Align DAO. This is the component. That's why it can be injected. So immediately it will go to DAO. Go to DAO means align DAO and will execute this get alliance. You see, it is saying DAO.get alliance. So I'm calling DAO, this particular class, which is a component which has auto-wired already the session factory. So now I'm going to this function, which will try to return me a list of aligned with DAO objects collection. It is fetching the current session from the session factory. And after that, the session object of session factory will create a query from align and align with DAO class from this class. So this is the entity class. And give it a list. That means you list all of them. Because it is nothing but select star from. You for an SQL query, you do not need to give select star. And for the table name, you mention the align name as entity. This is the entity name. That's all. It's very simple because that is going to return a list, a collection of objects of type align with DAO. Yes.
Sir, actually in SQL we select start from align, but this HQL from align only.
This is you do not have to give the full thing. Hibernate will take care of that. Because you are speaking through the ORM. This is the create query from the ORM. Okay. And the Hibernate from Hibernate, sorry. Hibernate through ORM is speaking to the database, align, table align, but it is enough. The rest, it will be taken from this thing. So this is a simple query. You do not need to know a lot of query language. That is the advantage. Everything you leave it on the Hibernate and the ORM. That's why you are calling this DAO. This DAO will then speak to align with DAO. Because it has to know what is being defined in the align entity. So it is speaking to align DAO. It finds that ID is AID, and these are the getters and setters, and this one. So it has got the structure of the table through this calling this one. So which class it is calling? It is the entity class. And through the query, it is fetching all the records through the query. Okay, because you want all the fields. That's why you have written from align. But suppose sometimes you need to list only 2 of the fields out of 4 fields. You want to list 2 of the fields. Then will you be able to do that with the create query? You can do that. You can do that, but not through Maven, Spring MVC Maven. We will come to the Spring Boot again. And there we will use the JPA. This HQL will be replaced by JPA, Java Persistence API, and that will have a framework of its own. Sorry, excuse me. So there will be data JPA that we will learn from after this thing. That is, we are going to go to your Spring Boot JPA, and there we will see DSL. So in that language, domain specific language, we can give our own customized query. Like if you have to give a query like select, I will not give star, I will say a name, comma, tech, only these 2 fields from Alan, where a name like G this. If I want to give a query like this, for this you need to know a lot of, I mean, if you do not know how to give, like I will like to see all the records only with these 2 fields from this align table, where a name like starting with G and the rest you do not know. So what are the records that will be displayed? There will be 2 records displayed, 4 and 8. Okay, so that means you know this query, but you have to fit in that. In that case, you will use the Spring Boot DSL, domain specific language. We will learn that, and that can happen through the JPA layer. JPA is a very interesting thing. I will tell you. JPA will replace the here. What you are saying? Java Persistence API. Here it is the DAO layer. There you will see the repository, concept of repository. This is the DAO layer, is a class. But JPA will use an interface, repository interface. Anyway, we will see. So in that case, if I run this, I will get two records, and with 2 fields, a name and tech. I need not know the employee ID or the AID. But you see that the query has been executed, isn't it? If you replace that by star, then you are getting all the fields, 4 and red, blue and yellow. Earlier you were only listing a name and tech. Clear? So if you want to customize your own way the query, then you also have your method, the way you want to do. But here we are simply trying. See, what was the message? What was the message? That in this we go to index align. We say that we are going to display all the align records. We are going to display all the align records. So which query are you going to fire? You are saying without any filter condition, without any condition, you are saying star from align, no condition. This is the condition. I'm not giving any condition. If you want to do that, then why? Then just take the help of Hibernate. So you in your DAO layer, you say from align, that's all. Just because it will not know which table you are going to use. Then you are mentioning that, okay, you please refer to this table or entity name through this DAO. Okay. Therefore, when I run this, I will find. I will press submit. What will happen? It should list. This is which JSP?
Index align.
No, it is not index align. The controller will call show alliance.
Oh, sorry, show align.
Show alliance. Let me go to show alliance. Okay, what it is saying? All align records from database. Are you seeing this message? All align records from database. Fine. And then it is saying all alliance. Why? This is a literal. This is basically a variable. All alliance. What is that variable? Variable is nothing but the attribute. This is the attribute. This is the value that you are passing. Where? You see the align. What is alliance doing? This particular get alliance doing from the DAO, it is returning the entire list of this one. So this is the list. This is an object of list collection of all the objects, all the align with DAO objects. Got it? This is the table, or that is the list. It has collection objects of align. It has returning from this function. And how is this getting captured in the control, in the controller? You are saying that you are getting from this align the entire list of all these things, and you are putting that into giving an alias name of that particular list. You have given that as an attribute name and adding it to the model. Model is a repository, or it's a class. It's an object, collection object, model type, where you are storing the entire list of all the objects by the name all alliance. That's all. This is an attribute name. And this attribute I'm going to use in show alliance. So in the show alliance, you will see that you are actually using all alliance. Is that part clear? This attribute you are displaying in the, because see, this is a JSP. So it is displaying the data. You cannot display the data like that. It has to get it from somewhere. And that somewhere is the controller. The controller sends the attribute in the form of a model. To whom? To show alliance. Show alliance is the JSP. So JSP now gets this attribute and displays it. But to display a variable, so attribute is also a sort of a variable. It has come over the session. Okay. With a dollar and this curly braces. Similarly, you are saying dollar curly braces name. So where are you getting this? Always check with the controller, not the DAO layer. The controller will say that in my model, I have an attribute by the name, and another attribute by the name table. The value inside the name, the attribute name is high PCS global employees. So you can see high PCS global employees, that is coming dot. That is coming in the show alliance, this name. And then there is a comma. Above is the data displayed from $table. So where is the table? Table
Controller.
is the table name, align. Therefore, if you go here, you say above is the data displayed from the table name. Now this portion is the table. That is also an attribute. And this entire thing is the data in the format of toString. How many rows are there? How many objects are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let me check if there are 7 records. Let me check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So all the records have been displayed. Clear? In this format. I don't want to get align everywhere. What do I change? Where do I change? I want to put only over here. So where do I need to change? Will I need to change in the show aligns? If I do not want to, my question is, if I do not want to have, see, align, for each record you have align. Already we know that the table is align and we can display it over here. Or we can take this, or we can just give the table name align over here. How do I do that?
So in the command.
In the command, in the control. You're saying in the control? No, control I have
No,
given.
not SQL.
Now my question again, Question is, where is this format coming from? This format you have given, this is coming from somewhere. It cannot come from anywhere. You must have given that.
Coming from toString.
Coming
In the
from
align.
toString. And where is toString?
In the align.
In the entity, right? In the entity. So you can go to the entity. Align with DAO is the entity. I will change the format. I do not want to give this everywhere. I want to give that, or I can change this to capital such that it is visible. And I do not want to give this, or better, this is one row. This is one row. I will change it to a name as you have defined, as you will define a name. But you do not, you cannot, you should not give it a different field name. These are the field names. Color. So AID, a name, tech, and color. So in capital letters. AID, a name, tech, and color. So I have taken out this align. And also I would like to put it somewhere. So shall I go anywhere? See, align DAO is a DAO layer. It has nothing to do with the presentation of the, it will present the data only. It is working with the data only. This controller will manage the JSP. And it is managing the JSP, saying that I will send into the JSP 2 attributes, name and table. And also I will give an attribute called all alliance with all the, this is, I'm fetching it from the DAO layer. all the records. And then I'm calling this show alliance. So I will go to show alliance. Show alliance, and I will say all align records from database. Fine. This is the table. And also I can take it over here from here, and before this is printed, I will say from this table, okay, and I will say a break over here, break and a break, and here I will also give a HR, because this is my table, and after the table has been over, I will also end with an HR. Followed? What I'm doing? I'm saying that I want to give a two-line break after all aligned records from the database. From which table? This is the table. And then I'm actually displaying the data from the table. And now I'm saying addressing the high PCS global employees. Above is the data displayed. Or you can just better leave it like this. So I have done changes in few of the places. Clear? Shall I run this? Okay. So let me go there. I will again refresh, because you have changed something on the controller. You must refresh it. So the sublet is regenerated. It will take a bit of time. And this screen is, the title is all aligned records. I will say click on the submit button. Okay. Now, did you see that I'm not getting align everywhere. I'm getting, this is one row, and the entire thing is within a single bracket, this thing. But this is one row. This is another row separated by a comma. This is another. So there are 7 rows, and high PCS global employees above is the data display. That is much better way of displaying the data. Is that clear? Now we will proceed further. Let us not wait. Now here is the select statement generated as we have seen yesterday. This is going to be the same. So you will get the why it is displaying only 4. Was there any 4 record only? Let me check.
No, there are 6, I guess.
Uh-huh.
No, 7 records.
7 data. So why it is not giving me, but here it is giving 7 data. Select this. Let me check how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
7.
6, 7. All the 7. I don't know why it is not giving that entire thing over here. Anyway, better let us go to the next stage. Now there are 2 more functions that I would like to do. What I'm doing is I will like to unmark this, uncomment this. I would like to give an AID, and then I will like to pick up one of the record. Let's say I would like to have a query like this, where AID equal to 3. Select star from align where AID equal to 3. So this one record will be displayed. Okay. And another one, I would like to add a record. Clear? So what I'm doing is, okay. See here, I am trying to use a gate mapping. So first of all, I would like to change the index align. What I will do, this is only one. It is just taking one submit button. Okay, let me copy something from here. I will copy from this index align. I will copy this one and copy this one. Fine. I will remove this. I will come back here and I will just, in the same form, I will have 2 more. Let me put the AID first. Try to follow it. I will explain you. I'm giving an HR just to give a visible marker. Here, this is used with this. I do not need to do it again and again. This is for querying. So I can use this H1. What I'm doing is I'm putting a H1. That means this is a heading. Like I have given a heading for displaying all align records. I am here also. I'm giving a display of for querying. And this is just to display on the browser. Now I'm querying, getting an align record from the database. So I'm using action get align. I'm going to enter the align ID. Based on that ID, I will search. I will submit it. And then once I submit it, I will go to the home controller. So the home controller is using this mapping, get align. Is that fine? Is that fine, anyone and everyone?
Yes,
This is
sir.
one thing. Another thing is I'm going to add here for adding an align record into the database. And here I give this one. And the action is add align. But here we are going to input the align ID, align name, technology, color. Fine. In the various parameters, name, AID, a name, tech, and color. this is going to use the getter and setter method of the align object. Anyway, once I submit it, this is going to be added with the called with an add align. So what is the method? Method is post, because I am now going to post my data into the through the DAO layer into where? Into the table. Okay. Now this index align is getting called from the controller, and I input whatever the values. This one I have checked. This one get aligns I have checked. Show aligns. Now I'm trying to get the align. Now to get the align, to get align function, I have to define this function over where? In the DAO layer, because that is the DAO layer will give me all the business utility. I will just open up this. And did you observe that for everything, every of these functions, get aligns, add align, get align, one record. Am I not using a transactional annotation? Any transaction that you have with the database, you need to give this a very beautiful annotation given by the ORM, the Spring Framework. This Spring Framework transactional will try to use the Spring transaction that, remember what we have added over in the POM. What did we add? Spring transaction. Through this transactional thing, we are avoiding the with the transaction management, like begin transaction, commit transaction of Hibernate will be handled by the Spring transaction. So Spring is taking care of everything. So because of this, we can use this one transactional, because it is through this transactional annotation, I can add a function, add a line where it will be using the transactional properties of that Spring TX. What it is doing? Okay, first of all, let us do with the, I'm going by the sequence. Doesn't matter. It can be the last one. Just it is the question of you are calling this. Let me say here fetching what? Fetching an align record with an AID input. That means you are getting an get align. You are calling a function get align of the DAO. It is going to return an entity of type align with DAO. Align with DAO is my align database or the align entity. Now this is coming from where? This AID?
Entity.
No. This AID. I'm passing into get align an entity. Parameter, an argument. Who is calling this DAO? DAO is getting called by the controller. The controller calls the DAO because now it is the point of time where you want to interact with the database. And you are interacting with the database, sending with this function an argument called AID. And where are you getting this AID from? You are getting this AID from the request param. And where is this request param coming from? get align, you have input a text AID, isn't it? That is the request parameter. You are requesting to query the database for getting one record which matches with this AID. This is the front end. The front end had sent the value AID into the backend, which is the controller. The controller is receiving this through the request parameter AID. And it is creating this function. And inside this function, it is calling the parameter, calling the get align function of DAO, passing the parameter which you have captured in your screen. Clear? Is it clear? Tell me.
Yes,
No
sir.
hesitation. This is the points that you need to get the things very clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you repeat again this one?
Where do I repeat? You asked me a question. This is just you are asking me to do something which I am doing.
Yes, sir. From line number 42 to line number 42. Line
No,
number
no, no, no.
65.
That is not a question. Line number, that is, are you reciting a poem? You are an IT guy. You have to ask a question which is intelligent question. You cannot say, sir, you please repeat from 42 to
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
61. That is what I'm doing.
Sir, was this LN with DO is
First of all, I cannot understand what you speak. Actually, this is very difficult. I am the class. If I may ask you, are you being able to understand what Anirban is speaking or trying to ask? If you can do that, please, you can tell me.
Sir, actually, this public string add a line without then it is what is alliance with LN with DOA? What is the understood?
I'm not understanding your question. Was what can I do?
Sir, actually, this line number 56, sir. Line number 56, public string add a line, model attribute alliance.
No, I'm not. See, you are just going ahead of my discussion. Did I discuss this portion at all?
No.
I'm over here. I'm trying to get data based on the AID that I have given. This controller is the heart of the entire Spring Boot application. Without the controller, you cannot move ahead. This controller, first of all, it is capturing the AID from where? From the index align. You will enter a value over here. You want to say that I am saying select star from align. That is, someone will do it. But you are supplying this AID. If you execute this, how many records will you get, Ariman? You tell me.
Sir, select from start from other where AID equal to 3, sir.
No. I'm saying if you execute this query, how many records are you going to get?
Sir, sir, this is 1, sir. AID equal to 1.
Yeah, 1.
Okay. Sir, 1 record will instruct only 1 record.
How many records will you get?
Oh, sorry, sir. 8 records. 7 records. 7 records.
7 records. Now I'm saying, are you finding 1?
Yes, sir.
Or are you finding 8?
Yes, sir.
Can I say that I want to query only a record which is having an AID of 8? How many records will be displayed now?
2.
1 or 2?
Sir, 2.
So can you explain that? Why will you get 2?
Oh, sorry. No, sir, sorry, sir. One, sir.
Anirban, if you cannot answer this simple thing, then it is very difficult. How will you take care of so many complicated things in life?
Sorry, sir. Actually, it's one second.
You are not concentrating. That means you are just asking a question, but you do not know what you are asking.
No, sir, sorry, sir.
No, that is the value that AID 8 I have given. But here it is directly a query that you are finding on the MySQL Workbench. But here you have to give that into that index align into that front end. You are mentioning 8, and once you submit that, it flows down to the controller with the action get align. So the controller has to give some function for this get align action, and what I'm doing is I'm keeping everything. I could have given this one different name, this one different name, and this one also different name. Will it work? Let's say index align, I have given the AID value of 8 and submitted. Once I submit, the action becomes get align. The action flows down to home controller. So I have to catch that. I have to get that mapping. It has to match get align. Otherwise, it will not match the submit. Do you understand this part?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, understood, sir.
Okay. After that, what is this? I will ask you the question now. Public string get align. What is this?
This is a method actually.
That's a method. Method under the controller.
Controller, yes, sir.
Okay. And what are these called? For a method, what are these?
Parameters.
Arguments or parameters. Okay. So how many parameters or arguments are there in this function?
2.
2. The first parameter, I'm saying that in this get align, I'm designing the first parameter as the request parameter with type int and AID. Just you can give any name. So what does that mean? What does that request parameter mean? Request parameter is saying that whatever parameter this form, this index align.jsp has passed me, that is the parameter, that is the request parameter. This form is requesting me. This form is requesting me. Isn't it a request form? Once you submit, it is requesting for some service. That service is I am adding this get align. And the get align has to match here with the get mapping of the controller. This part is fine. And then any annotation is actually going to qualify or define a function. Here I have given the function name same as the action name. But can I change the name to say get align one record, or get align AID? Can I give that? Will it be a problem if I change the function name? Okay, I will keep it like this. I'm giving a function name as it does not necessarily need to be the same as the get mapping. I can give any function, but the get mapping, which is get align, will be qualifying or defining this with this annotation. And the function is get align ID. Is it clear, Anirban?
Yes, sir.
What is this request parameter? This function is trying to process the AID, which has been passed on by the index align through this action get align. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And once I get AID, do I need to match? What is the name of this parameter? AID. Isn't it? What should be here as well?
AID.
It has to be AID. You cannot avoid that. Because your actual request parameter, what is the parameter that you are sending? By the name AID. Therefore, you say it has to be AID. And what is model? Model is another object in Java, in your Spring, which gives you some repository which can hold any object or any data. And I'm giving this object name as M. M dot add attribute. You are adding an attribute by the name align. You can give any name. Do I have to give the same name as get align here? What is DAO? This add attribute, if you check the syntax of add attribute, it is saying m dot add attribute. Okay, it is saying attribute name is the name of the model attribute, never null. You have to give some name. And attribute value, the model attribute value can be null. So object attribute value, which is the model. I'm taking this. So you have to give some name, just an attribute name. And what is this? M
Object.
This is an object. And what is the object returned? Here I'm going to return an object of an align object, a record. I'm going to return a record based on the AID that is matching. Anyone, did you get it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where is the problem now? You tell me. You have asked me a question.
Yes, sir, what
I'm
was-
calling this DAO layer.
Yes, sir.
DAO is another object. And this object has been already injected. Auto add. So therefore, I can use this object like in Java you can do.
Yes, sir.
So this object has been instantiated or injected into this controller, and therefore the controller calls this object. And within that object, there is a, sorry, I am here. Within the object, there is a function. I'm calling that function only. And that function takes the attribute or the parameter or the argument, function argument as AID. I'm passing that AID. So let us check that align DAO. So I'm saying that this is the get align. It has to match the name that you are giving. If I'm saying get align, let's say I'm given the name get align by ID. So can you see there is an underline? There is a wrong error. There is a mistake. The method get align by AID int is undefined for the type align DAO. What it is saying, because in this DAO, there is no such function. So if I have to change that, so see, I have my mapping different, my function name different, and the DAO function name is also different. I can do that. But for our convenience, we are keeping it all the same, so that I do not complicate. I should be making things very simple. Now, once I give that, because already I have created a function called get align within the align DAO. And what it is doing, it is getting the current session from the session factory. And then from that session factory object, it is getting get session.get align DAO class, which is AID. That means it is, what is align DAO? Align with DAO. This is the entity.
Entities.
So what it is doing with the AID, it is setting the AID and getting the AID. Okay. And with that AID, it is giving you the entire record if it matches the AID. And who will give that query? This entity is not going to give that query. It is saying that, allowance saying that I know, I am the business logic. I know how to get a record from the entity matching with the AID that you have passed. And once I get the record, I will put that record into this object. And that object is nothing but the entity object. And I am trying to return the entire object, one record, if it matches with the AID. So is this function helping you to get the row matching the AID? And it is returning aligned to whom? Can you tell me, Anirban?
Yes, sir.
It is returning one row. You are not listening, is it?
Yes, sir, listen.
This get function of the session factory
Yes.
knows how to query the database. You don't have to fire any, you do not have to fire any query like this. You do not have to fire any query like this. Select star from align where AID equal to 8. Did I fire any query like that?
Yes, sir.
No. The get knows the Hibernate query to query this entity with the AID. So it is basically doing like this. It is basically what is the entity name? Align. You go there,
Yes, sir.
you see the entity name is Align. So I will say basically it is querying the entity Align like this. Select that this is the get function. Get function dot session dot get. Okay, session dot get is nothing but is equal to basically querying the entity bin align like this. Select. Finally, Hibernate will come up with a query like this. Select star, but you don't have to write anything. Select star from align where AID equal to the parameter AID. So you actually define it by colon AID.
From me.
This is, you are not seeing, it is internal. It is internal to Hibernate and ORM. But by using this get function of the session, you have actually fired this query into the database. And if this AID, let's say the value of this AID is, actual value is 8. Then it will fire this query like this. The same thing. It is like this. Clear? And you can get your record. So this is getting a record. This matches with the data. And it puts that record into align object of type align with DAO. And this function get align returns an align. That means this object. Where does it return? Return to that module or to that class which has called this function. Who has called this function? Anyone?
Get align. Yes, sir. Get align.
This function has been called by whom?
Sir, align with DO, sir.
Huh?
called by sir Ellen sir Ellen.
I'm not getting what you are saying.
Sir Ellen sir Ellen.
What is Alan? You try to answer after you
Ellen
have
is
thought over. What
Ellen
is
is
the
an
question that
individual.
I'm asking? Can you repeat my question?
Sir, can you repeat the question again?
No, I will not repeat. You answer me.
Sir, I
Either
was
you are not
following.
listening, you are not concentrating, you are, whenever I try to ask the class, if you have any question, you stand up and say, sir, I do not understand. But you do not try to listen also. Then what will I do? How can I help you? See, I'm from the morning itself, I am trying to help the students, but nobody behaves like you. Everybody tries to listen, tries to understand. If ultimately they do not understand, they will ask, but they try to understand, because I repeat again and again, I repeat, keep on repeating. But the problem with you is that you never listen to me. You simply, you have only one purpose, just to ask a question. How will that continue like this?
No, sir, I was not listening now, but I was listening before. So, the question, sir, please again.
I am asking again because see, I have to finish by March, the Spring Boot by March, because after March I may not be available. Okay, for the internal training purpose, because I will be taking so many corporate classes that I will not get enough time for you. So I am requesting you to let me finish this Spring Boot. At least one thing I will do for you, such that you can attend the interviews and be very well prepared. Somebody else will take the other sessions. And if sometime I would be, there is, the training is over, but there is one after the other, the trainings are coming to me. I'm actually overburdened. Okay. So try to utilize this time. Try to understand what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that which program is calling this get align of this DAO? Somebody is calling this, therefore it has come here. This is the persistence layer, the DAO layer, where the business logic is there. So who is calling it?
Student.
Student.
Yes, sir.
No, this is just a diagram that I'm trying to help you. Actually, anyone, you are not following. Where is student coming from?
Yes, sir. Ellen, sir, Ellen.
So align is calling align.
Yes, sir.
This is the function. Who calls a function? These are the simple basic things. These are the programming language standards. You are calling a function. So somebody has called a function. This is a separate program. And from externally, one more program has called this function. This is the component. This is by the name Align DAO. I have given a name like that. See, it is almost like one day it is getting over. I have not progressed at all. How will I complete? I don't know. If you are not understanding these basic things, I'm for the last 3 classes, I think we are discussing on this. This is a component. This has been injected into the controller. This has been auto-wired or injected into the controller. This is the controller as a DAO object. So Align DAO is the class component, and that has been injected. And somewhere here, whenever you are giving the AID that you are trying to query the data, you want to fetch a record by this AID, you are calling the DAO, that object, you are calling with a function. So this controller, my question was very simple. Who was calling this? Who was calling this function? So who is calling the function? Get-align? Huh?
LNDO.
Controller.
Align-DAO is the called function. Align-DAO is the component, or this is a class.
Oh, controller, sir, controller.
So Anirban, I'm not at all happy with your level of understanding. I'm again and again repeating that this controller has got this Align-DAO object injected. See, basically, you could have done the import. You could have imported. Why did I not import Align-DAO? I mean, why did I import it? Why do I have to again do this auto-add? That is an annotation that will help to inject the class Align-DAO from this particular import as an object here. Now you can easily use that injected object to call all the functions. That is why you auto-wire it. And not only that, by auto-wiring, what you do, you not only injected the component, but also this component has injected another component, another bin. So as a whole, the entire thing. So this import will not only help, this auto-wire will help to get the session factory as well, which is embedded within the Align-DAO. That's why you inject into the controller Align-DAO. Align-DAO in turn has an injection of session factory. Clear? So this get-align now picks up a record from this entity class with the help of AID, firing this sort of a query and returning that object to whom? Anyone, again, you. No, first listen to the question. I am saying any function has to return something. It is returning an align with DAO, that is this type of an object, which is an entity object. And this is returning an entity object like this after it has got the entire record. Okay. Where it is returning this object? Who is receiving this object?
LNDO.
Anyone tell me?
The controller.
See, Anirban,
Oh,
this controller is calling this one. So the return will return where? The controller is calling the function of the Align-DAO function. Align-DAO is a object component. It is calling this function from Align-DAO, and this Align-DAO function processes this, whatever it does, and returns the align object, but where? To whom?
controller.
To this controller. So what this attribute will hold? Basically this model. So model by the alias align, what will it hold? When you have
AID, sir.
AID,
No, sir.
what does this thing will return? Just now we were discussing. It is returning in the align object.
Align object set. Yes, sir.
You'd forget about align. It is the table object, entity object. That means a record. How will I explain that? This is the record. This is one record out of the 7 records, because you are querying only the record with AID 8. So the entire record will be fetched by the get function of align thou get align function. This is the get. You have designed this get align function yourself, saying that it is transactional because it is with the DAO layer, and actual function, the actual query will be fired by the get function of the session factory. Class, I'm very sorry that I'm only after Anirban, but I will like to understand from you whether you are getting Ashish, Devajyoti, Roshan, Shantan, Subhas, Suprabhat. All of you, are you able to understand this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anirban, everyone is understanding. It is nothing
Sorry, sir.
very,
Sorry, sir.
very
I'm
simple.
trying to, yes, sir. It's simple, sir. I'm trying to understand, sir.
It is very simple. So this align object, that record, when I say this diagram, you must remember this diagram. Everything is an object. These rows are objects. Object 1, object 2, object 3. If there are 100 rows, there are 100 objects. And each of these objects are the entity objects. Each of this object, that entity in our case is aligned with DAO. This is our entity. This class is our entity. And actually the mapping is done with align, the table name. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So I have got the entire record based on the AID, and I'm putting that into the model, and I'm giving that name of that particular, this is sort of an pointer. You can say a pointer to this record, because it is stored in a place of the model. This model is a container. This model can have hundreds of objects. So I have to give some identifier to that record, and that is the identifier. That is called the attribute. I'm adding an attribute to this particular object. And that is what I'm going to show in the JSP. So this function get align is finally populating this model with the attribute align, and align is nothing but that record, which I have got it from the DAO, and then I'm displaying it. Ultimately, I have to convert that into a display format. So that is what I'm getting, the show align. Let me open the show align. Oh, I do not have any show align. So what I do, I will go to this. I will say, I will change the name. I will say show align only. No alliance. It is because it is only one record. So after that, I will go. I will say only one record. One align record, not records. From database, from table. This one. The table dimension. What do I mention here, Anirban? Under the dollar and the curly braces, what do I mention over here? Will this all aligns do? Just check and tell me what shall I put in? I have called this show align. So what the show align should, where is the record hold? Like here, if you wanted to get all the alliance, you have stored that into an attribute called all alliance. That's why you have mentioned in the show alliance JSP, you have mentioned all alliance. So in that case, will it be fine to mention all lines?
Yes, sir.
What shall I put? Instead of all alliance, what shall I put here? Again, I will ask you to go through this.
So Alan, sir. So Alan.
Huh?
So Alan.
So in this JSP, I will put this as show align. This way,
Yes, sir.
is it?
Yes, sir.
Class other than Anirban?
No,
Do you
sir.
agree?
Only align.
Only
Align,
align.
sir.
Are you not understanding? This is the attribute where you have fetched, you have stored the data by the name. This is an identifier. So then you're calling this show align. So show align must show this record
Alan record it, sir.
by this name, not by this name. And how do you say show align as your variable? This is a variable, and this one is the JSP name. This is nothing but .jsp. How can you say that you are displaying the JSP within the JSP? Can you do that?
No, sir. Alan record, sir. Outside it, sir.
So what will you mention here?
Alan.
Give me the spelling.
AIN.
So A should be capital or small?
Capital, sir.
Capital, no?
Yes, sir.
Why capital?
Yes, because it was capital, sir, in the beginning.
Okay, I'm going back to the controller.
Sir, in the method get mapping, it was a capital, sir. Alan.
I'm not understanding what you are saying. Can you speak a bit clearly, and you must say things very clearly. Talk slowly, but clearly. You will appear in an interview, Anirban. You must understand you have to be very clear in what you say. Even if you don't say a lot, you have to say whatever, you have to answer it. You have to answer in a very crisp manner. Very clear. You cannot keep on saying all this, and then they will reject you straight away. You tell me, I'm asking you a very simple question. In this show align, what will I mention over here? In this is a variable sort of. I want to display that record.
Yes, sir. Alan, sir. Small
Alan.
Alan, sir. Small.
Huh?
Small align, sir.
Small align. Okay, okay. Very good. Very good. Why? Because you have to match the parameter name or the attribute name.
Attribute.
Like here. Just 1 minute. Hello. হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ এখন পাঠিয়েছেন আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আমি দিচ্ছি uh 9756 দাঁড়ান এটাই তো দিয়েছে ও হ্যাঁ না না 975660 হ্যাঁ 975660 তার আগে হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ইয়েস বৌদি তো একটু বেরিয়েছে হ্যাঁ আপনি বৌদির নাম্বারটা আছে তো হ্যাঁ আপনি করেন কেন একটু বাইরে বেরিয়েছে একটু হ্যাঁ শিওর Thank you. Hello. Just 1 minute. So I have mentioned that parameter. In that case, when all the records have to be displayed, I have given just all and just to make some difference. In the show alliance, I have mentioned all alliance because here we had the attribute set to all alliance because this particular model was getting from this function all the records.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all the records. How? Get alliance. There you are saying create query from align. So that means it is picking up all the records, putting it into the alliance and returning that alliance. And that you are capturing in a attribute of that model. And then you are calling this show alliance, and show alliance is displaying all the records through this variable, through this model object. Okay, so this is done. And I will also show you that here I'm going to add one record. For adding an align record into the database, what is I'm creating a form, and this form is going to add align ID, name, technology, color with all this. What are these? These are parameters. Now, when I submit, it will go to call add align. Add align will be looked into in this controller, will service this request of add align. You can use directly post mapping here. Why it is post mapping? Why it is not get mapping? Because the action method is post. Here the action method was get. So get mapping. Here it is post mapping. And in post mapping, what you do? You say value equal to add align. That means the action that you are doing, add align. Very simple. Now see, you don't have to write anything. Only that you are passing the entire object. What is that object? That is AID. This is one record. This is entire one record, not more than one. So you are passing the entire record as an align to this entity. Now this is the reverse. You are here, you were getting, now you are posting. So you are posting this alliance into the object, into the entity. Now the reverse process. So you are asking, you are calling a function of the DAO, which is add align. So let me go to add align DAO, and there is a function that you are calling transactional data, the add align. And what are you passing with add align? You are passing the entire object with all these fields: a name, AID, a name, tech, and color. Clear? Sorry. In this, you are passing the entire align. So some argument you have given, but the type is the entity. Then you are getting the current session like anything session factory. And using that session, you are saving the data, entire record, which you have passed from the form with a post. You are passing that data, the entire record, and you are using this function. Oh, sorry. Using this data record, and you are saying the save. Save comes as one of those, like you have used the get. So what is that equivalent for save? Just 1 minute. Hello. Oh, अच्छा हाँ अच्छा 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 আমি ধরছি হ্যালো না আমারও ফোন তো ধরছে না মনে হয় কোনো ভিড়ভাট্টার মধ্যে আছে শুনতে পাচ্ছে না তো কি করা যাবে ও আচ্ছা 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 আমি মেসেজ করে দিচ্ছি ওর মধ্যে হুম, সেটা হতে পারে সেটা হতে পারে না না বেহালায় নেই একটু ওই ধর্মতলার দিকে গেছে আচ্ছা। না আমি আমি আছি আমি বেহালাতেই আছি ওকে ঠিক okay so what is happening here uh, finally it is saving this record where
The entity.
at the to the entity that entity is this one so you see there is no return here because there is nothing to return it has already it is going to save the data into the date table into the entity
Sir, actually, this is the function of setting factor, sir.
this is coming from the your ORM Hibernate you just have to call this function so what is this function doing
So, sir, there will be no return statement.
and there will be no
Return statement, sir.
do you think there can be a return statement it is not returning anything to the caller
Oh, it is not returning, sir.
because it has already done the atomic function it has saved it persisted the data into the table so what should it return it has to return nothing but you have to know that because this controller has to also let the user know that the operation has been completed so it is calling show alliance that one of the JSP file what will it do see I have to carefully use this because I don't want to create another one or if you want to create another one with the save like here you are saving the data right you can create another one but let's say I'm not creating right now another JSP I'm using the same this one how do I manipulate it what will give me the same output the one that I have saved let me go and check the show alliance I'm giving this record whenever you are seeing select star from align then you are getting all the 7 records But whenever you are saving the data, that is one record has been saved, and then you are returning that record only, but with some name, attribute name. So can I make this all alliance? What do you think? Such that whenever it calls this one, it will display this record. In this case, what is that record? That is one record with which you have called this add align. Okay, you may change this to save align, such that there is no confusion. And in that align DAO, you change this function name to save align, such that there is some difference you can understand. Rest, everything is same. So now it is finding that save align of DAO, and it is saving that into the database. But then you have to display that which data has been saved. That's why you are calling the show alliance, and you have said that I will hold this data into an attribute called all alliance. Let me check. Everyone, let me execute this. We will see. I'm stopping this. I'm starting this. So let me, index DAO is my first page. Let me refresh this so that servlet is getting created. Now see, I have three functions. One is to display all the records. Another is to query get one align record by entering the align ID. And the last one is adding, saving. Oh, I have to give a HR. So let me go over index align. I will say I have given an HR over here. And also similarly, I will give an HR over here. Save it, and I can just re-execute this because this is just a JSP. I do not need to build the servlet because there was no change in the servlet. So I will just say now, do you see that there are three sections? One is this one. One is querying getting an align record from database, and other is to add an align record into database. Anyone, can you see? There are three things. First thing we have already done yesterday. So submit, we are getting all the records. All the records. Fine. All the 7 records. I go back. I clear. Okay. Now I want to enter an align ID to check whether I get. So which one shall I give? Out of this 7, anyone, which one would you like to get? We were discussing about 8, right? So here you mention 8. You mention 8. That means you want to query a data record which has an AID of value 8. Let's see whether there is data. Submit. Are you seeing that Ghanusham Mondol, the take is project manager, color is blue or yellow? This has come onto the screen from the table. We did not hard code the data. we have fetched the data from the querying the database. Now, let me check. So is this correct? If I say 8, is it not correct? It is Ghansham Mandal, project manager, blue and yellow. AID is 8.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Another thing I must check. Okay, first of all, so this one is correct. What about adding an align record? Now I have all these records, right? 7 records. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will add the 8th record. Let me give record number 12 or ID number 12. Align name. What name? Anirban Mukherjee. What is the technology? Spring Boot. Angular. And color is blue. Fine. I then submit it. Once I submit, will I see all the records or simply the record that I have just submitted? Saved.
One record.
Only one record. Though, since I have used the same JSP, I am saying all align records from database. No, I can change that, but just to show you, this part is important to me. That whichever thing I have added, I am also displaying that this is the record that has been added. Because one record has been added, I want to know that whether the record was successfully added. So what did I do? I just said that yes, I'm calling the save align method of align DAO, and align DAO save align method of align DAO. I am passing the entire record, which is aligned with DAO type. That is, it is an entity. Just you can give anything. You can give any name. Just this is to say that you have entered this entire data needs to be passed into the database. So this one I'm passing, which is of format of align DAO. That is what I'm mentioning over here. So this is an object of type align DAO. Then with the current session, I'm saving this into the align. Now, do you see I have made the Hibernate show SQL. So can you see that it is requesting all the records. Then this is requesting that a record with a particular AID. You see where this is the condition is. See, this is all the record, no condition. And here Hibernate has added this condition where align ID with AID, and this question mark is the placeholder. What is the AID? That AID equal to the value. What is the value, Anirban? The question mark will be replaced by the value. What is the value, Anirban? Anirban is not there? Again, he is not
Yes, sir.
responding.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what is the value? What should be the value of AID that you have given?
Alan, sir.
Alan.
Yes, sir.
Oh. Align is not a value. Boss, I am asking what was the AID that you have given when you have entered? in the form?
8, sir. 8.
12, sir.
Sir, 8, sir.
So if you run this way, will it give you any result? It is giving you error. So you have to replace it by, there is no syntax called question mark. Then you are getting this result. But did you frame this query yourself? No. You just have said to get that, you have said get align, and you have asked the get align of the DAO. And the DAO has given you that get align function. It is using the get function, which is creating this query for you
8, sir.
for all the fields. It has its own way of defining all the fields, because it will consult the entity class for the fields. That's all. That's why you are saying align with color, align with DAO. Actually, align with DAO is the entity, and dot tech. Okay. Align with DAO dot name. So all these things are happening in the background. You do not need. You just have given a function called get. That's all. That has returned you. Similarly, you see, you have, for the saving of the record, what did you do? You said insert into align. You have given all the fields and then the values. First of all, what is the value? You have given 12, right? Integer. Then what did you say?
Anirban
Mukherjee. So that will come as
Color name, sir. Name.
huh?
Sir, name, sir. Name.
Spring Boot.
Yes, technology Spring Boot. Yes.
Take is Spring Boot. And then last one was color. Color you have blue.
Blue.
So these are the values. The fields have been mentioned earlier. The fields are this one. So individually 12 will go to, oh, you see, here there is a catch. So first of all, it will come as, this is what Hibernate has designed. AID will be inserted last. So first Anirban Mukherjee, then Spring Boot, then blue. No, blue will
No,
come.
sir. Second with blue.
Second is blue. So that's what that is. It is up to him, up to Hibernate, and the last one will be 12.
AID.
AID. But I do not need to do it again because it is already there. Can we? How many rows was previously? Can you see 12? Anirban Mukherjee, Spring Boot, Angular, Blue has been inserted into the database.
Yes, sir.
So are you now successfully? And another thing is there is no commit. There is no commit. Commit and all this transaction will be managed by the Spring itself. So Spring, either it can throw you an error, and if there is no error, because it is handling the database itself, so there will be no error. So how beautiful it is. It is doing everything itself. So it will take care of all the errors. But let me do it again. Let me do it again. Let me clear this. I will again insert one thing. I will say 12. I will say Shayantan. I will say technology, Java, Spring, JSP, Java, Spring. And then align color is red. Okay. I want to submit it. Will it be okay?
No, ID should be unique.
Okay. Yes. This is an error. What is the error? Constraint violation. This is the error. SQL constraint. There is a data integrity violation exception. So now Spring has given you an error. So you have to handle that error afterwards. But are you getting me? So you have given an entire responsibility to Spring. But after all, also you need to know something what you are doing. So most of the time, I will never include in my saving in this form, I will never include to enter the align ID because I do not know an HR person using my form will create a mistake because it is not possible if in an organization there are 40,000 employees. So another person going is joining and the HR person has to input the data. Will he input the employee ID? Will that HR guy input the employee ID? Which is the primary key?
No, it will be auto-generated.
It should be auto-generated automatically. Some formula would be there, some randomly it will be generated, but you cannot do it because you cannot remember what was the last employee ID. Will it be possible for you? No. So if there is a duplicate, it will give you error and you have to handle the error. So better to not enter the ID. Generally, the IDs are generated automatically. In Oracle, it is the next value. Okay. And in MySQL, it can be auto-generated with whenever you are defining the table, you can see a particular field, which is the primary key. That particular field will be auto-generated. Or you can say it's a random number. A random number within some limit can be generated as well. It depends on what is the design. But you are not going to generate because if you are going to enter that ID, you can often encounter this problem. Anyway, another thing is, I will again use this. Go here, refresh this. And I will say, okay, first of all, let me check again whether there was that entry. It cannot. So only we have 8 records and the last record is 12. Now, do I have AID 2 or 5? Do I have?
No, sir.
Let me say, I want to check ID with 2. I mean, I want to check a record with ID 2. So one align record from database, but it is wrong. There is nothing.
It's not IDs are not true. There is no ID two IDs, sir.
There is no 2 ID of 2 value 2. There is no record with such value. So, but I cannot leave it like blank. I must give it some correct information to the user. What I can do, tell me what you can do, where you will be doing. See, align, this is align has been returned to the controller. I must do it over here. Get align. So if I say where is my align stored? Where is this align getting recorded? Where is this data getting recorded? Into this model by the name align. So I
Align.
must check if this is one way of checking. If E is empty, then what you do? If it is empty, that means no record has been, yeah, then you must return add attribute. You are giving this add attribute. What is the attribute? You must give the same attribute,
Yes,
right?
align.
Align. And this time you give a message. No matching record exist. Will that be fine? What I'm doing here, I'm using the capacity of model to add an attribute, but this time my attribute, because see, in the show align, what is that I'm showing? What is that record? Align. So for an align record which does not exist, I must give it the same parameter. I'm giving a message, no matching record exists. If there is a matching record, then it will be showing with align. Either it will show or it will show a no matching, some message. If this is empty, let me see. I don't know whether it will work, but it should work. I have changed the controller, so I must stop it and I will execute this. Okay, so server is started up. I go here, I come here, I now refresh again. So servlet is getting created again. Now, I will say 2. 2 is not there. 2 is not there, right? First of all, I will check for 3, whether 3 is there. Yeah, 3 is there. Subhashish Banerjee. Let me check. 3 Subhashish Banerjee. Yes. This one is 3. Now I will check for 2. 2. I will say submit. Oh, it has not come. So I'm showing that into align. Okay, let me check the length. Maybe it is not empty. There could be some value into it, but it is not actually the record. Some value to indicate there is no record. So let me check the length. If the length is 0, so length. Yeah, there is one function called length. Because after all, align is an object, right? Greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, whether this will work or not. Let me check. So whenever you refresh, this value will go. It has gone, and I will say again 2. Yeah, now it is coming. So is empty is not correctly checking. I mean, there might be some issue with is empty. It is not actually is empty, but actually the length is also. So there might be some end of file marker or in this. So that will not make the condition of is empty true. But if you check the length of the file or the length of the record or the length of that container, it will be 0. So it is not greater than 0, right? If align length greater than 0, okay, greater than 0. Okay, let me check.
Sir, but it will always print that.
Let me see. Let me remove this. Not.
Sir, double equal to.
But it is, then it is like the is empty. It is exactly the same like the is empty. So first let me check with 3. It is giving this. Let me check with 2 now. Okay. So with this case, we come to a situation where we have to handle this. First of all, we have to handle there is no data. And another thing, 2 conditions we have checked. One is if there is a unique constraint violation or there is some error. Okay, that is one thing. And another is if the data does not exist. We will handle the exception through exception handling. And that we will learn from our next with the JPA, not with this ORM. Yeah, JPA will also have an ORM, but specifically with the Spring Boot and the JPA combination, we will also learn the error handling in the database. Fine. So 2 things are left. If the data doesn't exist, we cannot be able to use only with the attribute how you will handle. There is special functions for error handling and for finding out in the JP architecture, there is a special way to find out whether the data is not there. Okay, that is why we have discussed this. So today we will end the session. And
So is there any function called is content or anything?
if
Like if I put the AID equal to 2, then it will check that that two is exist or not. Like is content AID the
No, it
value is
cannot unless
present.
you submit it. Unless you submit, how will you validate? Are you
Yeah.
are trying to validate the input? But before you submit, how will it before it hits the database? How will you know beforehand that the data exists or not?
Yes, yes.
So there is a way to find out, and there is a smooth way to handle that scenario when there is a no data found. There will be a lot of cases where you are giving some ID, but that ID is not there. Or maybe you are giving a name, but you are returning a zero row. So whenever you are saying, oh, I have stopped the sharing, I will let me